Hey Trek Gang, what's going on in this week's episode of the Boeville in Newtown? Well, it's right over here. Stand by and we'll get into what's happening this week. Well, hello Track Gang and welcome to episode 27 for 2025. It happens to be August the 3rd. And yes, Sidetrack Sunday is tonight, but it's on John Number 2's channel. I'll be there, but any rate, a few a few updates here. Number one, there wasn't a video last week. The Friday night, which was, what the heck was the date? Let's see, the 25th. We went and picked up my wife's family from Germany. Actually, it was Mortz and Yo-Yo. Her name is Johanna. She goes by Yo-Yo. It's actually in English would be Joanna, but in German they don't pronounce the J's as J's. They pronounce them as Y's. So, at any rate, so that is her, I guess, her second nephew and his girlfriend, and they spent a week not so much with us, but with the family as a whole. So you know, Saturday. I'm trying to think. Oh, Saturday we had a party here at 5 o'clock, so all day Saturday we were prepping up the house. Sunday, the heck did we do? So, oh, that's right. Sunday they all went shopping. Monday we took them to Annapolis for a tour, and then Monday night they went and saw a baseball game, which they had never done, obviously. And then Tuesday, I believe they went to, yeah, that's right, they went to my wife's aunt's, the place where she lives. They've got a swimming pool. They spent the day at the pool. And then Tuesday night, we were over at my sister-in-law's house. And then Wednesday, they just kind of did some things around town with my sister-in-law. And then we met them over at my mother-in-law's house, and we had dinner. And we said our goodbyes because Thursday, my wife's cousin was taking them to D.C. Because they were going to take a little tour of D.C., spend the night, and then early Friday morning they flew up to Toronto because they've got a friend of theirs that lives somewhere up in Canada, and they're staying up there on a lake for 2 weeks or a week and a half, whatever it is. So, needless to say, last week was a bit of a fiasco. On that front, it gets better. Second thing that actually happened last week was I was notified on Wednesday that I am given an opportunity at work. It's basically a lateral move at the moment. I am going to be working for a completely different, what we call desk, within our organization, working with higher end customers. So it is a big thing. I'm looking forward to it. That actually starts the week that I'm away. So when I come back, I'm going to be basically fed to the wolves. No, I'm only kidding. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's a great opportunity. It's going to be a challenge, something different, something I haven't really messed with in probably 20 some years. So it's going to be different, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's great. Now there is one other thing that has been hiding out in the background that I have not mentioned. The Sidetrack Sunday guys, I think, know, but most other folks do not. And that is the fact that Rachel is away at the moment, but she is going to be moving out. Her and her boyfriend got a house, and they are going to be moving, so actually probably in 2 weeks there won't be another video or either. So probably next Friday there won't be, not this coming Friday, but next Friday there won't be a video because I'll be helping move. So it's a big thing for her. It's going to be a big thing for us. You know, we haven't been empty nesters since her first year of college. So that's all the personal stuff. That is the reason why I have been, or hadn't been on, or didn't do a video last week. There was just way too much going on. I didn't have time to do much of anything down here. For obvious reasons. The biggest thing I wanted to do is get everything cleaned up that I had, of the stuff that I had down here, so I could actually present the layout in a semblance of order. Which worked out great, because it did run very well. Didn't have any issues there. So, which is great, because I don't think I've run the thing in probably 3 months. Because of the fact that with the way things are at the moment, and all the things that are going to be going on, I am not doing any major work to the layout. However, caveat, there always is something to do, and one of the things that bugged me, if you remember back to my live stream, I mentioned that, and of course I still haven't actually fixed it yet, 100%, but I've started messing around. The new computer is great. As you can see, it's sitting behind me. You see the lights flashing in the background. That's normal. It's supposed to do that. Anyway, but one of the things that bugged me was the fact that the motherboard's got 9 USBs, there's 2 on the case. That means that there's 11 USB ports. It's like, well, this is freaking wonderful. I can hook up all sorts of stuff to this. No, not so much. Yeah, you can hook up the printer and the keyboard, the mouse, so on and so forth. But what you can't do with this particular motherboard, or actually from what I've been reading, is any motherboard will not support more than 3 cameras at a time. Okay, great. So that means I need to get a USB extender. No problem. It amazes me how hard it is to find a USB extender card, PCIe card, that's compatible with Windows 11. It's almost like they're not going to make them anymore. And it's like, this is ridiculous. They're out there, don't get me wrong. There's some really cheap ones, and that's the problem. I don't like the idea of going out and buying a cheap one. So I want something that from a decent manufacturer, but I don't want to go overboard either. It just seems a little strange, a $10 card, and it's like, yeah, I don't know about that. So anyway, eventually I will get another card into this thing. I'm not worried about it right now. I can make it work with what I've got. Anyway, but one of the things that did concern me is the fact that I was running, and of course it's actually over at the layout because I was playing around. I've got a 30-foot, or actually I think it's a 32-foot, because they do them in meters, or millimeter, or whatever the heck. They do them in the metric system and not English. Anyway, it's a 32-foot powered USB cable. Now, when I did this before, when I was using the laptop, I was taking that 30-foot cord and running it to the USB splitter that had, for USB hub that had 4 ports to it, and I could run 4 cameras off of it as long as they weren't the same manufacturer. Great. The laptops are a little different. I get it. Any rate, when I tried to do that off of this computer, I was getting all sorts of latency. I mean, I was getting choppy video, the whole 9 yards. So what I ended up doing that particular night is going ahead and running a 6-foot non-powered USB cable to the hub first, and then from the hub ran a 20-footer and the 32-footer to the 2 cameras, which worked. Okay, the problem is if I want to go ahead and up this to 4 cameras like I'd like to at the layout, that means I'm going to have 4 cords running across the floor, and that's not ideal. That's not what I wanted. So I started playing around this morning, you know, thinking, well, there's got to be something to this rig and to the way that this computer is looking at things. So let me try something. So I've got a 20-foot powered USB cable that was originally running to the Lenovo camera that was on the hidden yard side. So what I did is I de-rigged that, and I ran the 20-foot powered USB cable off the back of the computer to the hub. From the hub, I'm feeding that first camera, the Lenovo, and then off of another port, I've got the 32-foot powered cable feeding the C920 that was facing northbound from Boeville. I ran a test on OBS, didn't see any problems with it. So what I'm thinking was the issue is it was just too long of a run to get to that that USB hub from this computer. This computer just, for whatever reason, that particular USB port just didn't have enough rear end to it to be able to get to that part. That's fine. Okay, so it's a limitation. No big deal. I may find if I get another card in this thing, when I go ahead and change this, I may have enough that I could do it the other way, the way I originally wanted to do it, which was go over to the hub and have the hub attached to the layout and then fan out from there. But I can work with this. So right now on the north end of the layout, and it might be easier for me to show you. So let me stop here for a second. Okay. So this is the Insignia 4-port hub, USB hub. This is a non-powered hub from what I know. It's got a light on it that'll tell you that it's connected. And then of course this here is a trip light active extension. So this is a 20-foot extension that's going back to the computer, and of course, like I said, I've got the Lenovo off of this side, and then this side is the 32-foot cable that's running all the way down to the C920 facing northbound. So let me go ahead and come off of this for a minute. Okay, so that's basically the way it is at the moment. So what my thoughts are is I need another 30-foot or 32-foot USB cable to go from the hub down to the Boeville side of the layout, so I can put another camera down there, because I'd like to have one underneath the passenger terminal, and I know which camera I'm going to use for that, and that's the one that's got the light on it at the moment, because I don't have any light underneath of there. So that'll be the camera that'll be underneath of there. That's a Razer, R-A-Z-E-R. That's what I plan on putting down there. And then I want to put another camera on the north end of the layout, over top of Newton's farm, facing south, and I can run that directly to the hub, because it'll be close enough that I shouldn't have to worry about distance. So that shouldn't be a problem. That's kind of the thought. I know that there's people out there that have done multiple setups. I know that Jack's got, I know that Opa Dodge has it, but I don't think any of them have the issues that I've got with this, where the computer's sitting versus where the cameras are. You know, just to get from the computer to the layout is 16 feet. So actually the 20-foot cable is a little too long, but that's okay. That's fine. Once I re-rig this thing permanently, once I make sure that it's working the way I want it, I'm going to rig up the USB cables underneath the layout so that they're not on the floor or out in the open, what have you. I'm going to tidy them up, is what I'm saying. But for the moment, until I'm 100% certain that the rig's going to work, there's no point in doing that. I did that before and had to take it apart. So I'm not doing it again. I want to make sure that it's working 100% before I go ahead and re-rig it. More than likely, the hub is going to end up underneath where the hidden yard is, or the hidden yards are, and everything else will fan from that point. One of the other thoughts I'm having is I'm thinking about actually building a rig off of the end backdrop post to where I can swing the camera from over top of Newtown to over top of the hidden yards so you can see the shelving where the locomotives are. So that way if I'm doing an op session, either by myself or with friends or other operators, you can see what's going on there too. So you can swing that camera either way. The ultimate would be to get another 20 some odd foot cable and have two cameras up there, you know, have a T and have them sitting, you know, one facing southbound towards Boeville, the other one over top of the shelving in the hidden yards. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think on that one a little bit more. Other than that, I'm going to get back to messing around here because eventually I am going to do one other thing, and that is I've got some locomotive maintenance that has to be done. I found two locomotives that are not running the way they're supposed to. These are the two problem childs that I've had issues with for a while, so it's not it's not something new. It's the FP40, FP45, the B&O one, and the AHM C liner painted up for the B&O. Neither one of them, when I was messing with the op session yesterday, they were both giving me trouble. I think most of this stuff unfortunately has been sitting too long because I haven't been down here to run the layout. I've been trying to do work on the layout and not so much run the layout. So I'm going to get back to doing an op session, and we'll catch up with you when it's time to do some locomotive maintenance. Well, I'll be back. Okay, Track Gang. It's now Thursday the 7th. Didn't get to where I wanted to because of multiple things. Like I said, trying to get things straightened out around here for Rachel's move. So, any rate, gonna get into something unique first, and then I want to touch on something that has really irked the crap out of me. But let's get to the fun stuff first. Last night, Tuesday night while running the op session, and I just really drifted too far away there. I realized that the turntable still wasn't working the way it was supposed to. That was on me. What happened was when I went to put it back into the layout, I think I mentioned it, I had to bend the the 14 or 16 gauge wire so that it would fit back in the spot. When I did that, I inadvertently twisted that loop that I made on one of the feeds, and when that happened, it actually slipped past the insulator between the two brass rings, and obviously was not making contact anymore, or wasn't making contact correctly. So last night I took it apart. I re-rigged it, not completely, but took it apart to the point where I could go ahead and fix that wiring issue, got everything back together, put it back in the layout. It appears, knock on wood, that we're good. However, while I was over there, I realized that there was something that Colonel Cottonbelt had brought up a while back about the fact that Boeville Yard is all manual switches. And when I do get to the point of actually doing scenery over there, that's going to become a problem, because you're going to have meat hooks like these that are going to be going in there to try and manually switch the switches. It hit me the other night that I actually had something that came from a friend of mine when he decided that after his dad had passed away, he wasn't going to mess with the model railroads anymore. And it was one of my coworkers actually. He had given me a control panel and a whole bunch of rolling stock. Well, I took that control panel apart because there was a couple of things on there that I wanted to use, and I really didn't need it for what he had. So, what was on that control panel? Well, obviously, if you know the way I do things, I'm very much old school. I still have the slide push button that Atlas had, and then, of course, Lifelike, and I think even Bachman had used at one point. And those take up an awful lot of space, especially on a small control panel. So what he did have on that control panel were these guys. These are DP/DT center off momentary switches. So when you flip this, and of course I just did it by the wrong side. So when you flip it, it goes back to center. You flip it, it goes back to center. Since I'm still using the solenoid switches, these will work just fine. There was a minor problem. I needed 13 of them. He only had 10. So Amazon to the rescue. I got 6 more. And of course, after I bought those 6, I realized I should have probably bought more, because I could probably do the same thing with Weichert Industrial, because it's going to be the same problem. Once you start putting the scenery, do you really want somebody reaching in and messing with slide switch with the switches, and so on and so forth? Okay. The funniest thing of it is I could not for the life of me figure out how these daggone things were wired into that panel. So I went back to some updated documentation and found what I was looking for. Down there on the lower left is how to wire up momentary or push button switches. Now obviously these are not push button, these are toggle, which is fine. The thing of it is if you're going to go to a toggle switch, it might be nice if you knew what switch you were switching. So last night I went over to my bag of tricks and I pulled out something else that's probably ought to be in a freaking museum someplace, and that's this dude. Okay? And I laid out on graph paper, pardon me a minute, because after I put it on the graph paper, I realized there was going to be a bit of a problem. All right? That's what I drew up. So you've got the roundhouse, you've got the yard lead, and then the two upper switches, and so on and so forth, and then the yard ladder, and then the tail track for the locomotives. The problem with this is inch to a foot. So it's basically 7 feet and 7 feet this way, 2.5 feet this way. It's too small. How do you rectify that? Well, you go ahead and you take your printer and you blow it up 150%, and you come up with something that looks like this. This may actually end up being too small also, but we're going to try to make it work. We're going to attempt to try to make that work. So I'm going to be redoing that control panel over at Boeville Yard at some point. Again, I know I can already hear the crowd going, geez and crackers, another freaking project. And you haven't finished scenery yet. No, I haven't. With everything that's going on at the moment, there was no point in me pulling the paint out to go ahead and trying to, because that was going to make a mess, and no. It'll have to wait until after I help Rachel move, and then I can focus on that, get that taken care of. So, that'll be somewhere down the road. I've at least got everything together. I've got all the parts. If I decide that, hey, while I'm waiting for paint to dry, I can play around with this, fine. I'm also going to use it on a piece of foam core first, just a proof of concept. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we'll throw it out and we'll figure something else out. Anyway, so that's that. So, let me get into the unpleasantries, as they were. I put up a post last night, I believe it was Wednesday night, the 6th, on Facebook, on the Friends of the Boeville Newtown Facebook page, the group page. And there was a reason. For those that don't have Facebook, Good for you. I mentioned it in my Sidetrack Sunday, which would have been the Sidetrack Sunday number 4 for July, that I had heard rumblings through the other parts of the YouTube community that there was some, let's just put it this way, some overstepping of boundaries going on. And it relates to a thing that was put in place years ago called the Fair Use Act. What that basically states is that, from what I understand, and of course I could be completely off base here, but from what I understand from the other YouTube channels that I listen to besides the model railroading community, there's a couple people I talked about, the Professor of Rock and Rick Beato, because the Professor of Rock was apparently about to lose his channel because of this garbage that these, I guess they're bots, for lack of a better term now, that they're using, basically are going out and targeting everybody and anybody who's used music as a part of their channel that has not been approved by YouTube. So basically what they're doing is they're throwing up copyright strikes. Now, originally it was like, okay, so they're going after the music, the channels that are specifically music. I get that. Then I started hearing some other rumblings, and this is where things really started to tweak a freaking nerve. And that is, not only are they going after those, but they're also starting to go after everybody. Which, as far as I'm concerned, pardon my French, is bullshit. When you've got an issue with YouTube, like we've got right now, where they've got AI channels that are stealing content from content creators, and you're going to go ahead and let these assholes pull this garbage, then either one of two things is going to happen. Either a bunch of us are going to end up dropping YouTube and going someplace else, or we're going to go off the air completely. And to be honest, I don't want to see the latter happen, but it's going to become a reality if they don't fix this crap. And I'm sorry if I'm cursing, but it really tweaks a freaking nerve. I've been at this personally since 2015 or 14. 9 years I've been doing this. Well, not 9 years, I'm sorry. 11 years I've been at this. I can't count tonight because it's really tweaked me. So basically, you know, over those 11 years, I've seen some things happen. I've seen things come and go. Okay, fine. But this last round this year alone is ridiculous. There is absolutely no need for it. Somebody needs to put their foot down and fix it. Period. And if YouTube, if you're freaking listening to this, you need to fix it now. End of story. Because if not, you're going to lose a whole bunch of people. There's no need for this garbage. There really isn't. There's people out there that are doing this as a hobby and doing it for fun, and you're basically taking that away. And to be honest, here's another problem. Another thing that I've noticed too, that I've seen on some of the other channels that are below 1,000, they're putting ads up on them. Those guys ain't getting paid. And I'm sure I'm one of them. Sitting there at 700 and some subscribers, I guarantee you somebody who's going in there watching my stuff and seeing an ad before the freaking video starts. I ain't seeing crap from it. So they need to fix their garbage. They really, really do. Or, like I said, people are going to start jumping ship. And then they're going to be up a creek without a paddle. So, at any rate, with that being said, now that I've gotten done with my rant, I do believe that this Sunday is Dave over at DB Tech, 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and then of course next Sunday will be Bob over at PK&W. Like I said, there won't be a video next week because I'm going to be doing some work with Rachel, helping her move. So there won't be a video next week. But at any rate, that's that. You all know the deal. Wait for the highball. Green tracks ahead. We'll catch you all next time. Be safe. God bless. We'll see you.